Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Here we are again after a long while with something new to add to our knowledge, which is Postfix. So how does this work? Why do we use it? And why am I making this video? So you see, I have seen the use cases where a lot of people, all of organizations use locally installed Postfix onto instances or servers, which helps in mailing a lot of file data. So the use case which I have particularly worked upon is that you download bulk files from S3 bucket, get it downloaded to a local machine, and then mail all of them. After which the machine gets terminated. So you see, uh, this could be done. This could have been done with SES itself, but then you are just getting the logs of what mail has been sent, and then you are not specified about what files have been sent. You are not able to choose what files out of a bucket you can mail. But here in this case, in Postfix, you're just going to configure uh, the service onto your local machine, and then what to mail, what file to mail, where to mail, how to mail, what size to mail. This could all be according to your choice. So there are no restrictions. Plus, there's a big difference of cost. So if you are configuring Postfix on a local machine, maybe instance or EC2, then you won't have to charge, or then you won't be charged or won't have to pay any extra additional cost. Whereas if you go to SES, use the AWS SES service, then you would be charged a bit. So this is a big difference in using these services. Now, the challenge which I saw a lot of people have been facing is that they install the Postfix service easily, but then they don't, you see, they don't know how to configure it, how to use it, what services additional could be much or could be mail, when to use them, when to work upon mailing services, how could be that mail sent. They just put up the service, give up after a while. So let's not waste any more time and start our video. For that, I have my local Ubuntu machine, Ubuntu 20 I'm using here, and it is WSL, so it would be easy. I have created a document which would be available on my LinkedIn post and would be edited with this video in caption. So you can get this GitHub page easily from my GitHub channel, and you can go with the document following it up. So the very first steps out of which I'll be taking up is sudo apt update, and I've just updated it, so not something to take me up. But if you haven't used or updated your system for a while, please go ahead with it. Then I'll be installing Postfix at the very first step. So yes, if you see, it by default gives us to configure it. I want to use internet site, and then I want to definitely use the system mail name as rudrash3067@gmail.com. That's what my mail ID is, by the way, if you want to use it anytime. And that's it. Our work is done. It will install by default. Let it install. Meanwhile, let's install mail utils. So this is going to install all the required utilities of the mail command, which we'll be using to mail the files or whatever I want to mail up from my system. So meanwhile this is getting installed, let me talk about what I have done to use this. I have been automating one of the tasks in which we were supposed to continuously scan our whole infrastructure and then mail the reports. You see, there were around 17,000 plus repos which were to be scanned for with a security tool, and then those reports were to be mailed every hour to individual dev teams. So that's where I used the service, automated it, wrote a script in Bash to get it scanned automatically every hour, pretty much making a cron service for this whole system. So this could be done by any one of you if you want to check. Uh, so yeah, here we have installed, and now let's check if a service is running. System CTL status. What was the name of service? Postfix. postfix.service. And yes, it's up and good running. All right. The next thing which we'll do is configure, and we have already configured it. Let's directly move to the SASL. Uh, if you see, the default documentation says that we are supposed to go to postfix and then SASL. But if we go to the directory, let me take you to directory postfix and cool. So here, if you see, we have a SASL folder. Let's go to it. And sorry, my bad. If you see, it's empty. So what we'll be doing here is we'll be creating a SSL pass WT file. Let's do this. Control Shift V, and here we are. What we're going to do is we are going to put this uh, mail configuration, for which a username would be the mail ID which I'm going to use here. For Gmail specific, you will have to use the Gmail SMTP server. So this is the SMTP server and port which we'll be using. Here I'll input my mail ID, and here I will input the password, the application password, which is generated by the configuration which we make in our mail ID. Don't worry, how to generate this password, I will definitely share you up a lot of documents which are over internet, one of which is very useful. I'll definitely share with you guys. So you need not to worry about that. For the time being, let's copy this, and here, let me put up my mail ID, however, and then password. So I have already generated this password, which would be looking to you something like this. All you gotta do is copy it and paste it. That's it. And we are done. Sorry, my bad. And we are done. Cool. Let's get back to what our next step would be. So our next step is we have to post map it. Now what does this command do? When we post map this configuration, it by default gets get postfix understand that you have to pick the SMTP configurations, the SMTP server configurations from this specific file. Let me show you what I'm trying to convey here. So I have copied the command, and then as I told that there's a change in this, let's post map it. Now what's the change? If I go to this folder, you'd be able to see two things: the file we created and then a .db file which is being created after this post map. So you get it? This consists of the token which is being shared with the main.cf file. Main.cf file, again, sorry, here it is, main.cf file in postfix folder, which is the actual crucial file of our configuration. So yeah, moving ahead, that's the next step. We have to make configuration in postfix main.cf file. So let's see what is inside this folder. There are pretty much of configurations being already made here, but we'll have to configure the relay host. Make sure your my destination is all up to date, and whatever way it is, let it be the same way. We have to configure the relay host, and few additional config files we'll have to add here. So let's do this. So you see, I have already written the configurations here, which I'm going to add when I am configuring for Gmail specific. So you see, relay host here is going to be gmail.com, the exact server which we were using in the other file. And then the post map we did, it is actually to let know that the password is coming from here, and that there's another file. Where am I missing onto it? Yes, actually, this is the file hash one. So it'll come to know that what passwords and what configurations to use. How Postfix would know it is this command. Let me comment the relay host here so that it would be picked from the other one. Otherwise, it'll throw us error. Now, I think that's it. All right, so we are pretty much done here. Let's save this file and provide permissions. This is very common mistake which a lot of people do, that they don't provide permissions. So it's important to provide permission here. Let me provide permission to the SSL password and the file which we created after post mapping, and then we are providing the execution permissions to, let's not do this, to a postfix and every folder inside it. Oh, okay, there's a mistake here. Hyphen R, and we're done. Great. Now what you got to do is increase allowed file size limit. Okay, so as I've written that the maximum file size you can share is 50 MB, and beyond that, if you want to share, the default file size is 204 something, which is fine. But if you want to configure the file size, you can definitely go and execute this command. Make sure you just don't make entry into the config file, which is main.cf, but you post config, because it is really necessary to make changes in the core service of postfix. So yeah, if you see main.cf now, you'd be able to see the message size limit here. But again, you cannot just simply put this configuration here and think that this would increase the file size limit. You have to post config. So that is why these are few mistakes which I have made, and I'm sure a lot of people does. After restarting postfix, we are good to go. Let's check if our service is working. And yes, it's working. Now, as I told that mail utils is a required command because we are going to use mail. Let's check if it works now. Cool. And the error wasn't sent. The mail wasn't sent, of course, because the mail IDs were incorrect. I want to send to someone. And then from in this from, it's really necessary to put in the right mail ID for which you configured the SMTP server, because this is where the token is being picked. Now, how do I know if this mail went successful? Good question, right? So, while we have configured this, how to make sure that this mail was being sent. So for this, there's an additional step which we are supposed to do, which I missed on to, was mail log file. So you have to make this entry to check the logs if mail was sent correctly into main.cf file, which we'll be doing just right now, main.cf, and at the end, which is shift G and then O command to move to the next line, and simply you have to do this. Paste the command, restart the postfix service, wait for it to come up, and we are good. So if I send this mail again with saying email subject as hi from postfix and the body be, what should be the body here? Hi Rudra. That's it. Cool. Let's send this mail. Let's move to a where sorry, where log, and I think let's 100f mail.logs. So yeah, if we see here, the mail was being sent from Rudransh. Symlink leaves directory this postfix not to remove. Here it is. Relay is SMTP mail. Yeah, pretty much worked fine. To cross check, let's open our mail. And there it is. Hi Rudra. Hi from Postfix. So we've received the mail. This is how it works. So that's all for this video. And if you have any doubts, let me before ending up this video, uh, tell you very honestly that if you are configuring, it really is a tough task in itself. There are a lot of configurations for Postfix, and it all depends on what your use case is going to be. If you're doing this for personal instances, as I have shown in this video, it would be perfectly fine. But if you're doing this for this organization, for your organization, then you might have to use the correct SMTP host here. You see, this host, relay host, is very crucial, whatever you use here, because sometimes your institute, your organization might be using Microsoft services or other services which do mail. So you'll have to use those specific SMTP configurations of that server. And then you might also have to make changes in your host sometimes depending upon what host you're using. I'm using local host, so it wasn't an issue for me. But in your case, you might have to make entry of your mail ID or your username or your domain here. So yeah, that's it. Again, in case of any doubt, don't make any chances or think otherwise to mail me, to contact me. Feel free to connect with me, and see you around in the next video. Thank you so much, you beautiful people. See you.